Hey folks, how's it going? This is Seagull here, and today I'm going to review the Sonic the Hedgehog movie that just came out recently. I usually don't review movies on my channel, but since this is about Sonic, which is one of the main things that I cover, I figured why not? And I figured at least some of you would want to know my thoughts on the movie, since there's been so much talk about it. But there are a couple of other things that I want to get to first before we actually dive into the movie review. The first thing is that recently we did hit 25,000 subscribers on my channel. So I want to do a quick thank you for all of that support. I can't believe we made it this far. I can't believe in June it's already going to be 7 years since I've decided to start my YouTube channel on a more serious basis. So thank you for all your support along the way, and here's to even more cool stuff happening in the future. The other thing that I wanted to cover real quick is some Sonic related news, because I did mention in my previous video that there is going to be stuff revealed about Sonic on the 20th of every month this year. Now that February 20th is only a couple of days away, they have been gearing up for what looks to be a sort of Nintendo Direct, but for Sonic, called Sonic Station Live. So there is this translated tweet here from Japanese, where it says, Sonic's information program, Sonic Station Live, broadcast on the 20th of every month begins. The first memorable broadcast is from 1800 on Thursday, February 20th. When you click on the link, you will be taken to this YouTube Live broadcast page. I don't know why it says that it's going to be on February 13th, but yeah, it's still going to be on February 20th. And the video description does give a little bit away. It says Sonic Station Live, a program that Sonic developers will provide various information about the Supersonic Hedgehog, Sonic the Hedgehog. And it says in the February episode, we will introduce the latest apparel goods, such as Nintendo Switch, Sega Ages Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which has just started distribution, and the latest hot apparel goods on the program. I know this is a rough translation from Japanese, but when I first read the latest apparel goods, I thought they exclusively meant merchandise, like t-shirts, mugs, hats, that sort of stuff. But no, it looks like it does relate to the games too, since they did mention Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which is coming to the Switch on that day actually, so that's kind of nice, I guess, that Sonic 2 is available on the millionth video game platform. I'm not sure how many times I've bought Sonic 2 at this point. It's probably at least 3 times. Though I still would not be surprised if they revealed some new Sonic merch. I think there is a very good chance of that happening. I'm not expecting any game announcements. That's probably going to be saved for March when South by Southwest is happening. So this is probably just going to be a first broadcast to kind of put our expectations in check and just do the first thing, and then the bigger stuff will be saved for later. Alright, so with all of that out of the way, let's get to the actual movie review now. There will be spoilers, but I'm saving them until the very end, and I will give you a very clear warning when those spoilers will start to be discussed. But to start things off, this movie was better than I expected. It's not a train wreck. Because I know video game adaptations tend to, well, turn out to be pretty bad. But thankfully, this is one of, if not the best video game adaptation that I've seen in live action. I would put this movie at around the same level as Detective Pikachu. And in a couple of ways, I'd say it's actually better, because with most of the Pokemon besides Detective Pikachu himself, I thought the Pokemon looked creepy and a bit unsettling, whereas with Sonic, I think he fits in with the world really well. And yeah, I'm so glad that they redesigned Sonic. Even though they redesigned him, I was still not convinced that this movie was going to be that great. But if you're just looking for a movie to just unwind, just something that's really fun, something that's not too deep, then I don't think you'll be disappointed. I think you'll be happy paying the ticket price to see the Sonic the Hedgehog movie. I think overall, kids will enjoy this movie the most. This movie does feel very aimed at them, but I don't think it's unwatchable by any means for adults. Just don't expect anything that is super close to the games. There are some good Easter eggs that I'll talk about a little bit later, but yeah, there's some references to the games, but the characterization of Sonic and Dr. Robotnik are pretty different. There's some things they have in common with their modern iterations in the games, but yeah, they're clearly not meant to be the same, because Sonic in the games now, he's pretty experienced, he's beaten Eggman multiple times, many times, but this Sonic on the big screen is pretty inexperienced still. He's still getting a grasp on his powers, and it's basically an origin story between the rivalry of Sonic and Dr. Robotnik. And without giving any specific spoilers, I do think it is interesting how they've used both the names Dr. Robotnik and Dr. Eggman. I thought it was just going to be Robotnik's name being used, but thankfully it does all make sense. But getting back to Sonic himself, his character in this movie is basically equal to a hyperactive 10-year-old who will never stop talking. So that's a big reason as to why I think kids will enjoy this film the most, because they will be able to relate to him quite a bit. For the acting, I think the cast overall did a pretty great job, and this is the other thing that I think elevates it a bit above Detective Pikachu. I think Ben Schwartz did a pretty good job as Sonic. He does sound a bit similar to Roger Craig Smith's modern Sonic, because Roger is the current voice of Sonic, and has been for quite a while, but he still sounds a bit different, as I think he should, because Ben Schwartz is voicing a much younger Sonic than Roger. And Jim Carrey, of course he did an amazing job. You probably expected me to say that, but yeah, I think he did a great job playing Dr. Robotnik. I was a bit worried at first, because the first scene we saw of him was with Neil McDonough, who, if you're as big a fan of the Arrowverse shows as I am, you'll remember him from Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow playing Damien Dark. There's that scene that Jim Carrey's Dr. Robotnik had with him, where he was really like talking down to him and called him Major Nobody Cares. I just would not have, even though Dr. Eggman, yes, is a bit arrogant in the games, I wouldn't have expected him to say something like that. But I guess since it was Jim Carrey, he was going to really play up the arrogance and the goofiness of Dr. Robotnik. There was one other scene with Dr. Robotnik that I wasn't a huge fan of, where he does this whole dance routine, and it goes on for way too long in my opinion. Sure, it was funny the first 5 to 10 seconds, but yeah, I don't think it really needed that much time. But for the rest of the movie, I think Jim Carrey did a great job as Dr. Robotnik, so thankfully in the full movie, yeah, he did great. I think James Marsden was also really good in this movie. He was definitely my favorite human character besides Jim Carrey, of course, but yeah, I liked him in Enchanted, so when I heard that he was cast for this movie, I was like, okay, this could be one decent part of the movie, and yeah, I liked him as his character, Thomas Wachowski, or otherwise known as Donut Lord. Now I cannot think of James Marsden without thinking of Donut Lord, but yeah, I think he's pretty entertaining. I like his relationship with Sonic in the movie, as well as his relationship with his on-screen wife, Maddie, who is played by Tika Sumpter. I wish she had a little bit more to do in the movie, actually. I'm a little bit disappointed she wasn't more in it. She has more of a role towards the end, but yeah, I don't know. If they do a sequel, which I think they will at this point because it's already making tons of money in the box office, maybe then she'll have more of a time to shine. And coming from someone who did not like Chris Thorndike and his friends in Sonic X that much at all, that is saying a lot. That I actually like James Marsden and Tika Sumpter's performances, even though the main character is Sonic. I also thought Lee Majdoub, apologies if I said that name wrong, I think he did a pretty good job as Agent Stone, who, he's basically Dr. Robotnik's right-hand henchman. But yeah, he didn't get as much time in the movie either, so I wouldn't be surprised if he was also in the sequel a bit more. I wouldn't be surprised if Orbot and Cubot appear in a sequel, but if they don't, I sure wouldn't mind if Agent Stone came back. So overall, I think this movie is pretty good. It did not blow me away. The middle does drag a bit. I feel like that's where the pacing wasn't as good, but the beginning and the end, oh my gosh, yes. Especially those parts were really good. And I'm actually hoping for a sequel, which is not something that I thought I would be hoping for. But if they keep up this level of quality and beyond and make future Sonic movies more Sonic-y, maybe have more of Sonic's worlds, then I think that would be really good. So, from here on forth is where I'm going to be talking about the spoilers. There isn't too much to spoil though, in all honesty. It's basically the beginning and the end that have the most spoilery bits. So let's get right into the spoilers, starting from the beginning. So the beginning I thought was amazing. It might be my favorite part of the whole movie. I wish it was a little bit longer. I wish there was less of Jim Carrey dancing and more plot development in the beginning. Because Sonic has an adoptive mother named Longclaw, who is this big owl. But she's on screen for maybe like 2 minutes and she presumably dies. Maybe she somehow didn't, but the way that she's left off, I don't think that is the case, because Sonic and Longclaw are attacked by a tribe of echidnas. I was really surprised they were already showing echidnas in this probably first out of 3 movies. I don't know, I wouldn't be surprised if they do a whole Sonic movie trilogy or even a whole Sega-verse at this point. But yeah, the echidna showing up definitely does leave some questions for me, because it makes me wonder, oh, is Knuckles a part of this tribe? Because I would not be surprised if Knuckles already showed up in a second Sonic movie. And it does seem like it could lead somewhere pretty interesting, because it does remind me of the echidna tribe that was shown off in the flashbacks of Sonic Adventure, where they tried to use the Master Emerald for their own gain, but, well, chaos ended up rising out of the Master Emerald and killed them all, except for Knuckles. Somehow that was never really explained in the games. So I wonder if this could maybe be an opportunity to give a proper, fleshed out, explained backstory for Knuckles and how he comes to exist. But, well, even if Knuckles does not end up being in the sequel, I think Tails is a pretty safe bet, because, well, that's the mid-credits scene, which, to be honest, I was expecting. Yeah, I was thinking Tails was extremely likely to be in a mid- or post-credits scene if the Sonic the Hedgehog movie was going to have one. And I like how Tails looks. I think they did his look justice, though from what I can tell, I think he had to be redesigned too, because he does remind me of Sonic's new designs, so it does make me wonder how Tails' old design looked. Yeah, it probably looked pretty horrific as well, I'm sure. More backstory for Sonic I think would be nice too, if that is something that they would want to get into, because yeah, Baby Sonic was cute, but they didn't get to explain why he was being raised by Longclaw before the whole echidna attack. So, were Sonic's parents killed by the echidnas? What happened to them? I don't know, because Sonic doesn't have any explained parents in the games. He's just there. He's just there. Other characters like Shadow has way more story to them than for Sonic, which I find kind of weird. So I wonder if they might change that in future movies, where you actually do get to see the full story of where Sonic came from, how he got his powers, and all that stuff. But speaking of his powers, it was interesting in seeing how they were done as well, because, yeah, he is fast just like in the games, but his powers also have a bit in common with the Flash, and I'm sure him reading the comic at the beginning was a little wink towards that. It's like, oh, we didn't just take inspiration from Sonic, we also took inspiration from another very fast fictional character, the Flash, because Sonic does have all that lightning around him when he runs really fast, and basically he can do flash time. He can slow down time to be really slow and then just mess around with everything and then unfreeze time. I'm kind of surprised they've already done this with Sonic. Maybe it is just one of those things where they want to do something different, because it's something I would have thought a live-action adaptation of Shadow would have had. So I guess if Shadow was to ever be introduced, he would probably have that same sort of power. And like I mentioned earlier on in this video, there are some pretty nice Easter eggs that are hidden throughout the movie, mostly towards the beginning and the end as well. But I love that they used the Hyper Potions Friends music that was used for the Sonic Mania intro. They used that while Sonic was running around explaining how cool he is and that sort of stuff. And also when they showed the cave that Sonic was hiding away in, they have this Hilltop reference, which is a reference to Hilltop Zone from Sonic 2 when he's playing ping pong with himself. And numerous times they bring up this mushroom planet. They don't explicitly call it Mushroom Hill, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Mushroom Hill from Sonic and Knuckles. And that is where Dr. Robotnik is at the end of the movie. And there is one particular line in Dr. Robotnik's final scene where it felt like he was actually channeling Mike Pollock, who currently voices Dr. Eggman. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he does channel a bit more of Mike Pollock in a possible sequel. And I just thought that was a really nice nod to the games. And yeah, it would be cool to see if Knuckles appears there. There was also an arrangement of Green Hill Zone's music that plays towards the end of the movie. And it is kind of funny how there is a Green Hill Zone, which you see at the beginning of the movie, and then there's Green Hills, the town, which reminds me of how there is a Green Hills in the Game Gear games. Also, it is worth mentioning that this town is actually a location in Canada, so yeah, Green Hills in Canada? That's Canada now. And I'm pretty okay with that as someone who actually lives in Canada. But that's all the Easter eggs that I can remember. I might have missed a few, but yeah, I think it was nice that there were those Easter eggs thrown in for the hardcore Sonic fans like me to recognize. So overall, I think this movie was a good watch. I'm not really in a rush to see it again a second time, but I'll definitely watch it again once it comes out on digital platforms. And I'm gonna wrap up this video here, so I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you once again for over 25,000 subscribers. So be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with my latest content from The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, and more. So I will talk to you all later, and have a great day. Thanks for watching!